Alrighty, how you doing, YouTube? Toss this thing down here. How's everyone doing today? Thanks so much for anyone who decides to jump in. Sorry for the late start, and yeah, we have some fun stuff to share with you today. As you might be able to notice, things are a little more deconstructed down here than before, and there's a very good reason for that, and that's because I'm in the process of moving. So all this will soon be in its own. I'll have my own office. It's gonna be a wonderful time, and we'll be able to do more things like this on an all basis, which will be fantastic. I look forward to that, and you know, woo woo. Nothing better than having a, you know, more time to do what you like and less time not doing what you like. So, got some things that are supposed to help us out here. I currently got a new iPad, so hopefully this picture's a little bit better. We should have better overall visuals as well. And excuse me. Thanks for the guys that are already seeing. By the way, for the two people that are currently watching this live, can you hear me okay? Please leave a comment below, just so I know that, everything's coming through all right. You can hear me, no issues, no weird video stuff. I always want to make sure anyone can hear me while we're here. I apologize. I'm also very normally dressed. So, yeah, I just got my kids to sleep. Sorry I'm a little bit late on the live stream as well. Kevin, as always, thanks so much, man, for tuning in, brother. So today I wanted to share with you guys something that's a lot of fun for me, particularly because, as you know, I am a big fan of electrics. And oh damn, I just remembered I left my notes in my car. Apologies. Give me about 10 seconds. I'm gonna run onto my car, get my notes, and come back here so that way I can not only show you my other screen. I also got a new Mac Mini. M4 Mac Mini, so I can do a lot more stuff here. I still don't have a webcam set up on it yet, so if you see me looking here, this is me looking at my big screen here. Let me just make this really easy for you guys. Okay, so this is my setup that I have over here, and gaming stuff and things of this nature. So yeah, I got that. Oh, also as another fun side piece, I got some old stuff on the ceiling, and over here I got a new 3D printer. And I'm actually going to start 3D printing some stuff to hopefully help out some people with things they don't like. So, for instance, oops, let me get that thing so it's not blocking the upper camera here. That should be good enough. All right. So, yeah, aside from printing Halo Master Chief's, pistol with no firing mechanism whatsoever because, it's 3D printed and slight warping, we're also 3D printing other fun stuff. And my Pokeball just dropped. Things like a banana sword, a banana katana, and oh no, my Pokeball. And one of my little guys fell out, but yeah, find it eventually. Or my cat will find it, or my other cat will find it, or my dog will find it. Anyway, run out to my car real quick. I'll be right back. Thank you very much for your patience, and see you in a sec. And we are back. Thank you for your patience. Alrighty. So, yeah, a couple fun things that are coming out here, and I look forward to kind of going over them and just kind of showing you guys my opinions. And I wish I could zoom in a little bit. This seems like too wide of a camera view. I wish it was more like buttoned up here. Anyway, so something I'm starting to try out with some 3D printing and whatnot is number one issue that a lot of people have with the current BMW shifters. As you know, they got rid of the stick part. It's now just a little tiny, dongle that you kind of go, nah. And so some people don't like that. They miss having something to rest their hand on. So I'm looking into 3D printing little bits for that, as well as a phone mount for um, the iX, so you can have a wireless charger on it to make it, more entertaining. And let me also quick update this guy, quick overview of the yoink. I realized I didn't update my banners that I have in the bottom here. So switching back down to here. So today's topics that I'm going to be going over with y'all is the 2026 BMW iX. It's getting its little LCI refresh. We've been looking forward to this because even though it's only been since 2022, it does feel like that the iX has kind of gotten old. And it started off really nice, and then they kind of, I don't know. It was a very hit or miss style for a lot of people out there, especially car enthusiasts. Anyone that actually did these. Wow, it looks really weird. Is that shadows? Oh, it's shadows. Okay. I literally had my left arm here was like rippling, but I just realized it's my hand shadow. It's not anything weird. I thought something was going on with my muscle. I couldn't figure it out why. Anyway, getting off topic. So 2026 BMW iX getting its LCI, and then we also have the 228 Grand Coupe, which is a lot of fun because that thing's getting a complete overhaul, and in my opinion, looks 10 times better, and is getting a massive overhaul update all around. And again, we'll go over that as well. Those are just starting to get to the dealerships right now, if you're curious about those. As for the 2026 BMW iXs, they're starting them really early. Production for the 2026 iX is going to start in March of this year. So yeah, just really chugging along. I don't know about you, I'm kind of getting annoyed by how quickly it seems like every car manufacturer's like, yeah, we're getting, it's being like middle of 2026, and you're like, here comes the 2028, vehicle. It's like, it's not even, it's coming too soon. Whatever happened to January 2028, that's when the car starts. January 2026, that's when the car starts. But now you can get your 2026 model in middle of 2025. Weird. But yeah, it happens. All right, so with that done, enough of this jazz. Let's get up here and share this window over here. So it's currently just went live as of today on the main screens here. Come on, load that up. Is that good enough? Should I make, let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, that's really not that much bigger. Let's make it super big. Gotta find a way to make this larger. I don't know if I can make it any larger. I might be stuck in my current little format here until I figure out how to make this work better on a Mac. Oh, that could be it. Full screen. There we go. Much better. Now it's interesting because this thing that you're seeing on your screen right now is much more consolidated, whereas my main screen here is 32 inches and giant curved screen. So it's a little different in how it's kind of putting itself into this format here. And let me get rid of this banner real quick so that way it's not blocking me down the corner here and I can talk to you a little more consistently. So this just came up on BMW's website when it first signed into bmwusa.com. This is the first thing you are greeted with, and this is the LCI for the new BMW iX. Now, I'm a massive fan of it. Why? Because it's not only seeing an increased range, power, and efficiency, but also has simplified design language. They have the newer kind of semi-vertical. There are on a slight slant, in case you can't tell from the picture that's up here. So if I this little guy. This is a little bit, you know, slanted. But they're completely redoing the front grille. I think it looks so much better than the current one. Not that I was like a massive non-fan of it. It's just this seems to me more in line with the design language. It's better than the current X3, which now that I'm putting this, I don't even think I went over the 2025 X3 since it came out. So you know what? I'm going to add that to the list today of what we're going to go over as well in the process. But going over this, there have been a couple major changes with this. Many of that they're adding a third kind of trim to this thing. So current iX lineup, you have the iX xDrive 50. That's going to be your standard 336 horsepower model, and then you have the M60. That one's the 610 horsepower, 811 pound-feet of torque, absolute torque monster, using the same size battery pack. Now, the problem with that is when you got that higher power one, it really hurt the actual overall range, and a lot of people that saw that were sort of like, oh, I don't like it, blah, 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 whatever. So, bottom line, it was a new foray in there. So, of course, with an LCI, they have redesigned wheels, they have things of that nature, and of course, all the stuff that I'm showing on here, you have access to yourself, and, you know, can do whatever you wish. Which, by the way, if anyone wants to, at any point, you can leave anything in the comments. I will pause whatever I'm talking about and get to comments, highlight you as you go forward. If you did want to kind of talk about other things, maybe bring up something else that I'm not talking about in this particular live stream, to maximize your time with me here tonight. Since it's been a while since I've done this, it's great to be back. And yeah, I need a little change from the monotony of moving. So LCI, fantastic changes, wonderful new wheels. They do start now, of course, the same 20s, 21, 22s. They're available out there. And if you read right down here, here are the main changes that they have. So moving from the current model of basically the 50 and the M60 being the only models that you have on there, they've now expanded it out to a 45. So an iX xDrive 45, an iX xDrive 60, and then an iX M70. The M70 is going to be the new top boss. It's about 40 more horsepower, same torque. So breaking it down to its basics here, the new, oh look, it actually shows right here. So right down here, I don't know if you can even see on my little guy here, but the new iX xDrive 45, 316, oh, that's accurate-ish. Anyway, they're saying that the range on here is from 279 all the way up to 312 in the iX45, so that can be based on the wheel options that you have for it. It is a slightly smaller battery for that one, so the iX xDrive 45 is now going to have 402 horsepower and get an average of 312 miles of range. Now that 412 horsepower is also getting a smaller battery pack at 100 kilowatts. 100 kilowatt hour battery pack overall, so it is a smaller battery pack all around. It also has slightly less maximum charging, so instead of 195 kilowatts of DC charging, it tops out at 175, which is less than where it's at, but the overall charge is actually the same. So speaking of which, let me jump to my quick notes at the end here. So charging time on that smaller one, the 45, is now going to be 34 minutes on DC charging, even though it has a lower overall maximum charge rate. The main one is still the main one, so what used to be the 50, now the 60, did have a slight bump in horsepower. A slight bump in torque, so it went from the previous 527 to 536 horsepower. Wait, it was 536 the whole time. Never mind. Mixing some things up in my brain. Apologies. And 564 pound-feet of torque. And where's it going with that? Right. So it has all that. and the bigger battery pack overall, which is, where was that? I just don't want to give you the wrong information and go by the actual things that they tell us here. Where were you? I literally just saw you. 113 0.4 usable kilowatts of energy. So that's up a little bit. It was 111, so now it's 113.4. So it's a little, excuse me, deepest apologies. Just getting over a cold. So it is a little bump in the overall usable power. That same amount of usable kilowatts is also available for the M70 version, which again is getting a nice little bump in terms of power, up to 640. I get myself a paper cut. Sorry, 650, not 640. Brain and math. 610, you add 40 horsepower, that's 650. So 650 pound-feet of horsepower and 811 pound-feet of torque. Again, giving this thing a little bit more oomph and power and straight up ass kickery. They're rating it at 3.6060. Of course, we know BMW has a tendency to underrate all of their power in 0 to 60 times, so it's probably closer to about 3.2, maybe even 3.1 seconds overall, and yeah. So that one also comes standard with the 21-inch rims, and they're going to be a lot more M stuff that's found throughout on the inside, which is going to make it a much more entertaining thing as well. Now, interesting little factoid for you. So the way they're starting these guys out is the newer ones are typically, prices go up and all that, but because they're moving it from the xDrive 50 for the starting level now down to a 45 and a slightly smaller battery pack, they're able to drop the starting price of the BMW iX 45 to $75,150. Now, that doesn't seem like much of a drop, but think of this. That's only $1,350 more than an xDrive 50e starting. So it's putting a lot more in line with the other non-EVs and partial EVs that BMW sells. So it's making it much more competitive in the field. In terms of the M70, it's unchanged at 111,500 starting, and there's a slight upcharge for the new xDrive 60 to 88.5. That's a $1,250 upcharge for it. Obviously, of course, when you're looking at these, let me see if I can find some better pictures for you here on this. I actually didn't even look at the website. God, why is it scrolling so slowly? God, I really love that. I love that. I am a big fan of these, the new headlights designs that they have in here, and the iconic glow now as part of it, which I really, really like. I mean, come on, look at that. Just, woo! Beautiful iconic glow. This seems to be a new thing that they're offering, so, whoa. How did I get it? How did I get that? There we go. Boom. Bigger. I didn't know I could do that. So yeah, this wonderful thing right here, look at that. That used to be non-body colored. Now it's body colored as a fun little option. On here, I'm not sure if that's going to be standard now for the M models, but it was not standard in the current ones, so it's nice to see those little changes. Here's a nice little way to show you the new wheel right here. And eye-catching 3D effect. It is eye-catching. I'm not sure if I consider it a 3D effect as just kind of cut. Interior, not very much has changed on the inside here. As you can see, obviously still has iDrive 8.5 as its main operating system. This thing won't get in for another 4 years. It'll get that nice little update to the new Neue class platform, where it'll get modified from its current platform, move to the Neue class itself, and then we'll get Generation 6 battery tech. And if that's the case, if we're seeing the kind of jump in overall mileage of 340 miles of range expected for the mid-range here, then we might actually be able to see over 400, maybe even 450 miles on like the really efficient ones on the upcoming option. Oh, sorry, bed reminder. So I'll be curious to see how that actually shakes out as it goes forward. Again, moving down here, The new thing that they've kind of increased, they've given you more supportive seats now. They've given you multi-function seats, which just came in for the driver and passenger, which means that you now have much more functionality and movement to the seats. It'll be the same 18-way adjustability where you can actually get a little more bolsters on the sides, adjust the side things, and it just looks sportier overall. And I'm a really big fan of it. It's still Sensafin. If you don't know what that is, that's BMW's kind of, it's not Vaganza, which is BMW's highest uh, non-leather alternative. This is sort of like the middle of the road one, but it's really fantastic. They wear great. People have been trading in their IXs from 2022 when they from 2021 they first started picking them up, and the ones that are just getting to get out of their leases right now, they're being really fantastic and holding up amazingly well in the process. Obviously, the panoramic eclipsing eclipsing roof, which, by the way, if you didn't know, they did change the name of that just because Sky Lounge is another trademarked name. Granted, we argued ourselves earlier, well, it's the panoramic Sky Lounge, it's not just Sky Lounge, and well, rather than fight a whole legal battle about it, they just said, fine, it's BMW's eclipsing roof, which frankly is really fun because if you didn't see it, I posted some things when there was the lunar eclipse or solar eclipse last year, and you can actually look through when this thing is fully through. You can actually look through the shade that's in there, the electronic shade, and see the eclipse perfectly. Apologies again. Whew, a lot more talking right now than I normally do. All right. Everything else in here, you might notice that nothing else has really changed here. Most powerful IX ever. Now, here's the interesting thing. They've mentioned that they've made a lot of more efficiency changes. Typically, when you do that, you assume it's some kind of an aerodynamic change, but the aerodynamic drag coefficient has not changed between the current and the previous model, and I have some of those things marked down here for us. So the current IX has a drag coefficient of 0.25, and this one also has a drag coefficient of 0.25, which means all these gains, not only in power, but also range, means it's all about electronic efficiency of the motors, battery pack, and the general managing of those systems itself. Now, I think one of the biggest contributors to that increased efficiency is a silicon carbide semiconductor that's been put in this. And usually the silicon carbide inverters that can now be found in them are significantly more energy efficient in converting like that energy drivetrain power down and out, which makes it, more entertaining. Also, the semiconductors made of silicon carbide are not only more efficient, but they're also more powerful and slightly more temperature resistant than the semiconductors made of conventional silicon, which is kind of awesome. And thanks to the further development of performance electronics and fine-tuning of things like the wheel bearings and tires, there are other little small refinements here and there that really just make this thing a much more efficient and about 10% better range overall from the current one. And again, if you need any of this stuff, BMWUSAnews.com has a breakdown of the same stuff that I'm kind of highlighting here for you guys. And yeah, so again, current one is actually unchanged in terms of overall drag coefficient, which, by the way, I wrote down some of the competitors that you find on this, which I find kind of interesting. So one of the main ones to go against this is the Rivian R1S Gen 2, which they got better aerodynamics on that, and they're now sitting at a 0.29 drag coefficient. The Model X is slightly better at a 0.24 drag coefficient. The Lucid Gravity, their new SUV that kind of falls in this space as well, is also at a 0.24. The Mercedes EQS has a 0.26, slightly higher overall efficiency, and the e-tron is at 0.28. So there's that. If you ever look online, if you're looking at those, you might see 0.27. That's for the options that have in Europe, where they basically have no mirrors and has like a little electronic kind of stick for the rear view mirrors rather than physical mirrors. In the US, we still don't allow that, which, you know, always entertaining. Anyway, I just thought that'd be a fun little factoid for you. Again, aside from these nice little changes overall, it's just doing a great job of really making it great. And there you go, highlighting things like Shy Tech again. Again, all the normal streaming things. They, of course, added, if you haven't seen it recently, they have things like Air Console and TiVo. They call it video, but let's face it, it's TiVo. You start up and it says TiVo. They have a couple other streaming platforms that are on there as well. The gaming inside, and all these wonderful things. This is a actually up-to-date generalized number of 130,000 different places to charge across North America with their partners. So if you didn't know, BMW has gotten together and not only with Electrify America, but also Shell Recharge, and they started doing something called BMW's Plug and Charge, which allows you to simply save your charging plan on the car and be able to plug in and automatically authenticate, giving you just plug and play access to it. Another thing, if you are new or haven't been following this, the previous way that you could do Electrify America, they used to be 2 years and you had 30 unlimited 30-minute charging sessions, and you had to have at least 1 hour between each of those charging sessions. And they did that for the first, well, 3 years of running this. The problem is when you do that, that's a lot of free electricity going out, and let's face it, electricity isn't free. So Electrify America changed their plan with us, which, by the way, this is not us doing it, it's Electrify America, and they changed it over to instead of 2 years and 30 minutes, unlimited amounts of charging in 30-minute segments, they changed it to the i4, i5, and iX all have 1,000 kilowatts, and you have 2 years to use it, which, if you do that, the base model on this, that's going to be 10 charges total from 0 to 100. And all the other ones is about 9.5 charges, completely free from Electrify America. Obviously, if you're not doing the full charge, you might be able to get a couple more sessions out of it. If you're doing like 50 to 80 or 20 to 80 charges on the road trip, it might make your road trip a little bit more efficient. I apologize, I still have a really bad tickle in my throat. But they have that, and then they've also launched on the My BMW app Shell Recharge options. That gives you basically every other access points to be able to use things like Shell Recharge's own ones, EV Connect, EV Go, Blink, Charge Points. Tesla probably later this year is going to be part of that network as well when they finally join BMW's My BMW app connection for charging. And and then we also have the new Chargescape that came together with a bunch of the automakers here in the US called Iona. They're the ones that are supposed to be putting out about 35,000 chargers before 2030. So 5 years to put out 35,000 chargers is not bad. That one is going to support not only CCS1 charging, but also NACS charging, so the Tesla plug plus the ones we use currently, the CCS1. And I believe most of them are going to be capable of anywhere between 250 and 350 kilowatts. I believe most of them are going to be about 350 kilowatts minimum outputs, because they want to be able to, give to everyone. That includes Hyundai, and I don't know why Hyundai would ever put their money in on something that they can't use to its max. And Hyundai is, as you know, charge at 350 kilowatts, and that's how they're able to do their 18-minute kilowatt charging. So they have the 350 kilowatts, 48 volts system, or 48 volt system in their battery packs. BMW's next generation will probably be doing the exact same thing and have a slightly higher amperage ability, so we might be able to charge in the same 18 minutes, maybe in as low as 15, with battery tech getting better as we go forward. By the way, I also want to just point this out again for anyone who's watching. If you did have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll answer them as we go. Oh, look, here's Iona. Yay. Exactly what I was just talking about. And just going through these, see if there's anything else that's new in here. Nope, nope, nope. FAQs. Beautiful thing there. All right. With that, let's move on to BMWUSA.com. Hey, I need you over here, please. Not new, news. News with an S. With an S, man. Here we go. So here are all these beauties. Now, if I scroll down a little bit here, I'm going to get to the 2 Series Grand Coupe. And, oh, by the way, we can also go over this for a moment if you want. BMW's panoramic iDrive, or what they'll call iDrive 10. So, best part about this, it's fantastic. I want to get down to the pictures. Come on. So if you don't know, they're basically putting everything up on the screen itself. They had a great little video walkthrough on here. Let's see if I can make this thing full screen to give you guys a little more view here. Bada bing. Oh, it doesn't give me full screen on that one. That's annoying. Will it show if I make this smaller? It will. Okay. But anyway, so yeah. The entire screen is basically tilted slightly towards the driver. I've actually seen a prototype of this myself. It is very intuitive to use, very easy, and the entire bar that you see up along the top, um, it makes it seem like, maybe, oh, this is getting into your field of view, but actually, instead of having, normally, if you look at the dash, the whole dash kind of rises up a little bit. Now, instead, the dash is actually flat, and so it fills in that lower bit, so you actually still have just as good visibility. It doesn't interfere with any of that, and it also has augmented reality for the head-up part of the display, which just makes it beautiful. And again, deepest apologies on that. Anyway, let's get back to the models here. We're going to go here, the 2 Series, and look up the 2025 2 Series Grand Coupe. I want to show you guys some of these pictures. There it is right there. God, I love that. Looks so good. Additional assets. Fine, dandy. Let's look at the ones that we actually have right here. Okay, so completely new. This is now 2nd generation of this one. It's still riding on the same basic platform underneath, but it has massive reforms. New things are there. Things like standard adaptive M suspension across the entire lineup, where they have the 28 or the M35i version. They still have a really good price. Their starting price is at $41,600 plus a $1175 destination charge, and they now have the same exact motor that you have in the X1 and X2. So literally, the X1 28i. Guess what? Same thing here. X2 M35i. Same thing here. Oh, by the way, another fun thing. 2025, I shouldn't even be saying I, because now they've actually dropped the I altogether. So moving forward from 2025 on, BMW is only going to put I when it applies to an electric car. So BMW's I division is the electric cars, because it can be confusing, because it used to mean, fuel injection, and that's not, I mean, it's still the case, but it's not the case anymore in terms of nomenclature for BMW. So now it'll just be known as the 228, so the 228 or the M235. No I. But either way, still going to have the same 241 horsepower turbo 4 with 295 pound-feet of torque and a 7-speed DCT, dual clutch transmission. Not the best transmission, and honestly, I hope they do some better changing. I haven't had a chance to actually drive this one yet. We're expecting our launch models to be here probably in about a week, maybe less. And it'll be great to actually have them there because, again, they just look really fantastic and wonderful. While we're going on that, let me pop this down to the main page. So, yeah, standard one will have that. Also have the M35i, so a little a little more horsepower overall. So instead of 302 horsepower, it's jumping up to 312 horsepower. Some fudges to 313, but I'll have that. Torque does drop from 336 to 295, so regardless of which model you get, it's still going to have the 295 pound-feet of torque on both models, and it's nice. Now, a fun thing about it is the M compound brakes with four piston fixed calipers, 15.2-inch brake on the front, so that's the same one you can get on the X1 as the compound brake. You can get that on this one too. Again, if you have no idea what that I'm talking about here, and you're considering this guy, don't get the compound brake unless you literally go to the track. It's a wasted thing on the streets. But let's get down to these pictures. God, I wish there's a faster way to scroll. Well, actually, there might be. You over here and yoink. There we go. Alrighty. Images, video. Let's do video. Because I like these. And again, I'm sorry that it's so small in here, but they're switching to the vertical options. And again, iconic kidney glow on this. It's a much more shark nose style on the front. I think it looks a lot better. I think it's very attractive, very, very handsome and purposefully built little car. And it's kind of hard to believe this is the entry level option. The taillights on this take a lot out of the X2 in terms of how they're angled. And I love how they're on the front when you're looking at that original light there. Let me jump back to that for a second. When they do this front angle of the headlights, boom. See, I love how they continue that line right in here. Come on, give me that big cursor. There you go, right there. I love that. I think that just looks really good. And of course, everything about it's nice, sporty. It's a great little car. And anyone that's coming out of, say, a BMW 320, the previous generation on the F chassis, this was basically the car that replaced that in terms of its overall size. Leasing options, they're really great to lease, especially if you're new to BMW. Just want to get in on it, still have all-wheel drive, all the benefits there. Look at the size of those. Ooh, God, that looks good. Yeah, I really love the back of this. Now, here's an interesting thing. Let me. Hey, pause. Hey, I said pause. Go back to that. Now, I don't know if you could see what they're doing here. God, please let me make this. Damn it. I hate they won't let me. Make that any bigger here. Oh, there we go. There's our kind of workaround. Apparently I can zoom in physically. But see how they have M2 big and then the 35 small next to it? I think that's kind of a hint to the fact that it's a very sporty styling. It's not as fast as an M2, so just putting that out there. But I think it's a fun little kind of nod and playing around with it. 228 does not do that. It's just 228. Excuse me again. But yeah. Come on, I like that. It's just nice. It's nice to look at. But yeah, aside from that, everything on the inside is relatively unchanged, with the exception of course, the biggest one, which we'll get to in a second here once I get to the inside video, and that's the move to iDrive 9. So they completely skipped over 8 and 8.5, and they're moving directly to Brianna. Hey. Just want to show that one. But yeah, so complete skipped over iDrive 8 and 8.5, makes perfect sense, and they're switching to that full interior view here. All right, let's zoom back out here. And let me see if I can get... Does it have anything? Show me the inside. And not the most effective way to show it in this particular platform. But bottom line, let me go back here and I'll show you the interior photos. Just so you can see, they keep the nice sporty seats on the inside, all the same benefits, and they now have, this is now the smallest car that BMW offers that has Digital Key Plus, which is awesome. Yes, I am back. I am back. Been a long time. Lots of stuff going on, and it's been a hot minute since I've been on here. But thanks for joining. Great to have you. So, let's do this thing again. All right, let me get off the iPad, come to the main screen here, and give me. There we go. So much faster to scroll down this way. All right, let's zoom this guy in and go over that interior. I'm going. This is the MC that was available on the previous model. There, again, newer steering wheel, newer controls, all the benefits of that. You'll notice that it has, if you've been in the new X2, it has all the benefits there. Ambient lighting right there in the center. The same kind of waterfall dash, if you will. And I don't know. I am a really big fan of this car. I think it's the most underrated car that BMW makes, and it's just a hoot to be in. By the way, if you do want the paddle shifters on this, you do have to get the M235, just because they won't be available otherwise. And by the way, yes, briefly. And no, they're not dropping to 60 overall. So let me put this thing on a brief pause. Let's go over here to Brianna real quick. So, Brianna, yes. I did cover the iX70, mentioned that it's getting a 40. So they're now calling it the M70. They're dropping the M60 and technically they're dropping the 50. So the iX50 is the car that they're dropping, and they're calling it the iX60. And that's going to be the now mid-range, and they have a newer entry level called the iX45. That one's slightly smaller battery at 100 kilowatts and 402 horsepower, but still does 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, and that's only 0.5 seconds, half a second slower than the iX60. And then they're making the iXM70, basically slightly sportier overall in how it's put together, and also more efficient, so it has better range at about 302 miles of range, which is awesome because people look at the iXM60 and say, hey, why does this thing only get 256 miles of range? Because it's the same size battery and more power, but now they're able to give it more power, same torque, same size battery, but 302 miles of range, which is, love it. But yes, the new one has 650 horsepower and the same 811 pound-feet of torque that the previous one had. They're doing a little bit more sporty stuff on the inside. They haven't released any photos of the inside of it just yet, but they're starting production of that in March of this year. Again, I said that earlier in this live stream for anyone that's been watching since the beginning. Again, sorry if I'm going over this again for you, but I want to cover it for Brianna since she just showed up and had the wonderful thing of saying hi. Appreciate you. So yes, that is that. Zoom back. Boop. All right, so we have all that. Now, something that you will notice, let me go back to the photos because that way I can actually show exactly what the center dash looks like here. Photos. Give me that center dash. There we go. There's a good one. Don't do that. Just yoink. There we go. All right, so everything's down here. Now, an interesting fact is that from what I can tell, there is no more wireless charger. That's like the funky kind of lay it on the side against there, but I also can't see the same wireless charger that's found in the X1 or X2. It has to have a wireless charger in there somewhere, so I'm not quite sure where they have it. They've also, I think, integrated this little um, X1, X2 shifter area. It's the exact same one that you find on theirs, but it's more integrated into the center dash, so it's a little bit more robust and less floaty, which I personally like better. And yeah, I don't think that there's any other picture of the inside. Oh, by the way, how much do you guys like these wheels? I'm a big fan of these wheels. Like, so simple. I love the new look of this thing. It really just makes me happy. Which sounds weird because people shouldn't get happy about car design, but I do. I really love the car design. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in here. Oh, so they're redoing the little vents on here to be more like what you found in the new X3, which, by the way, I'll go over that since, again, I haven't been doing this for a while, so I'll go over the X3 real quick as well for you. But they have these new ones. So what they do is these are now um, a top and bottom vent, twin vent that's put together. They use this little controller right over here to adjust where it is. The only thing that they didn't do is add the haptic um, vent control. That's still a normal one that's right here, which should make it easier for most people. Just realized that my brightness is all the way down, so I'm not seeing the same thing you guys are seeing here. And let me adjust you back here. Beautiful. So, they're doing that. If you didn't know how that works, basically the air comes out both vents, and by adjusting how much air comes out either the top, so more top air points the air down, more bottom air makes it go up. So it's basically, think two opposing things. If you increase how much comes here, it naturally pushes up. Increase the top, pushes down. A lot of manufacturers have been doing that for a while, and they just did that in here. And again, my other favorite part is just the come on, the integrated lighting. It's also slightly has a gradient to it, which means that they also have more lighting options and color options, which I think it greatly needed, like very badly. The back seat is still small-ish. Oh, here we go. Another chance to show this integration down here. Oh, that answers the question. So, lay-on piece for a wireless charger right there. Now, considering they made the standard on the X1 and X2, I'm assuming that they're going to do the same thing on this one. And it has this little tiny vent right here, which is going to give you cooling so now your phone won't overheat. All this is only good stuff and what people want to see and expect from their car. Now, an interesting thing that they changed in this, because they don't have any of the hard buttons up in the dash area, they moved the two ones that people most use, these guys right here, which is the max front defrost and rear defroster, to just there above that. And they, instead of having the parking assist button, which usually is up at the top, they move that down to just above the My Modes and the drive settings in there. Whew. All right, so that is basically all that. I think that's everything to go over in here. Oh, another thing. I've done previous videos about this in the past, but if I want to go over it in here because it's the perfect opportunity to kind of show to people that might be looking into it. And that's that with the move to iDrive 9, anyone that buys the car actually has a massive benefit to it, and that is the fact that you won't have to pay for any of the services that come with it after 4 years. So as of right now, BMW has a thing where BMW's connected services are only for the first 4 years, and then you pay after that for the rest of them. I apologize, my little iMac stand here that makes it look like a older MacBook Power Mac is, my little guy's feet have fallen out. So I'm trying to stick them back in. There we go. Yay. Yeah, so iDrive 9 basically gets rid of all that. Apologies, I went off topic there for a second. iDrive 9, everything gets rid of that, and instead they make it so that now Instead of paying yearly after your initial 4 years for connected drive services, you get it for the lifetime of the vehicle, or as they like to say, as long as technically capable. So you don't have to pay for the services on your X1, X2, X3, or now the 228i going forward. So that is a massive departure from where they did when they were before. Now, where they're planning to make their money on that to keep certain services alive in it, because before you basically paid for it. It used to be 120, now it's $150 a year after the initial 4 years. Now with this one, the way they're kind of get their money for streaming and data connections to the car is through something called BMW's Digital Premium. So when you first get the cars, they get Digital Premium as a trial for 3 months. See if you like it. A lot of times people get it and they don't even realize that they have it, or that they don't even realize that they lost it after 3 months. Sometimes you do things like your extra drive modes, 3D build, 3D buildings, and satellite images in the BMW maps, more extensive BMW personal assistant, and streaming services like Air Console and TiVo that you get in the car. Those are all part of that digital premium account and connection that you get on there. Now, um, benefit of it is that if you do decide to get it, you can either pay $9.99 a month for it, or $99 a year for it. Something to keep in mind, unlike the connected drive services for previous models, when you do it in iDrive 9, the digital premium service, when you get it, is automatically recurring. You have to tell it not to recur. And that also means that if you sell your car and you don't cancel that recurring payment, it will still charge you as you go forward. So just really, really need to know that. I feel like that's a caveat that most people are not being told, and is very important for anyone who decides to pay for it and suddenly realizes, say, 2 or 4 months after they sold their car, they're like, wait, I'm still getting charged $99 from BMW. Why? I sold my BMW. So, you know, just so you know, the more you know. See if there's anything else in here that is worth. All right. None. Perfectly fine. Okay. So with that then, let's move over to, let's zoom out a little bit here. Let's get our models, and we're looking for the new X3 to go over this. Now, this is really a hit or miss model, to be completely honest here. Because the number one thing that everyone that does not own one has been saying is, ooh, what services would I pay for? Honestly, as cool as it was, I had this thing when I had. Oh, let me put this thing up here so you know what I'm responding to. So Brianna asks, "What services would I pay for?" Now, if I had my own BMW, I basically would say, you know what, I don't particularly need many connections. If I didn't like my phone as much as I do, I'm a really big fan of Apple CarPlay and its integration. And because of that, I probably would not pay for the service at all, since I get the remote services like remote access to it, lock, unlock, flash highlights, sound to horn, remote start, all that. That's all part of the digital standard option. And I figure, why bother? You know, because your phone gets the same thing. And I feel like it's primarily there for someone that the people that say like I love my phone. I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing. I don't want to share my data. Granted, I explained to many people that you don't share your data with the car. CarPlay is not a data sharing thing. It's a data streaming thing. So it's streaming video and audio over Wi-Fi to the car. Nothing's actually being shared or stored inside the car outside the fact that, hey, I'm a device that you like to connect to. That's all it is. So if you're one of the people that say, yeah, I really don't like Apple CarPlay, then those are the kind of people that would pay for this kind of stuff, because you like to have the extra connectivity, the personal assistance of BMW being larger language model, and all that stuff that most people would, look forward to having or expect to have, especially if their phone is not going to be doing it in the car for them. Of course, the other benefit of that is if you're paying for it that way and you say, I don't know, your person who leaves your phone at home, I'm not sure who does that, but I'm sure it happens. I'm sure there's someone out there that leaves their phone home all the time. They'll be able to keep access to all the things that really matter, um, and still have all that right there in the system itself. So, yeah. Uh, Splurge. Came in and missed the 2 Series talk. The F-74 is an upgrade in the rear, downgrade up front, all the same. Yeah. So yeah, same underlying thing. It has been modified on the overall chassis, which is why, slightly different chassis change, but it's the same kind of update that, Mini does with the how move from the F-56 to the now F-66 model. It's, they're tweaks. It's not full underlying upgrade, but everything else on top of it. So the front grille, back grille, and iDrive 9, massive upgrades. The connectivity, functionality, digital key plus being added to it, lifetime connectivity for its services that I just went over. Like all this stuff is much more like amazing. Again, the only thing that I personally am very, very concerned about, I mean very concerned about, the X1 and X2 that have the same running gear and the DCT for the engine and all-wheel drive system and drivetrain, it really lets it down. Okay, there's something that just really it gets on my nerves because I'm like BMW is so good at so many things, and their previous 8-speed transmission that they had in the previous models worked so wonderfully. They just flat out worked. They had good ratios. It never felt like it was lacking or something. And fun thing that you notice is actually if you take the current X1 X1 or X2 and put it against the new X3, which I have on the screen here. Um, Again, they have a very similar overall power and weights because they both have 295 pound-feet of torque. Um, the X3 has 255 horsepower, but it weighs more. The X1 has 241 horsepower, weighs less. So, based on that alone, power to weight ratio, it should take the lead. And the thing is, if you actually put those two side by side from a roll, it does take the lead. The X1 or X2 do take the lead, but the second you hit about 60 miles per hour, the gearing with the 8-speed that's found in the X3 compared to the 7-speed in the X2, X1 and X2, really, seriously, 1000%, it just walks away from it. Same power, heavier car, it just walks away because it's more gearing, and it's just a better overall experience here. And preaching to the choir, brother, you really are. And that's not even going into the rant of why they got rid of so many manual transmission options. Because, like for instance, again, side rant here. The Z4 you can get with the manual transmission. Now, granted, that particular manual transmission, its linkages and such, it is the best manual transmission in a BMW that is a non-M. And it is amazing. Why? Because Toyota developed it. They basically, when they put out the Supra, and they had the rest of our chassis from the Z4 motor and all that stuff, they were like, yeah, we need a manual transmission. Our people expect it. BMW hear that and they go, yeah, but it's so much faster when we just put the automatic in it. We don't have to worry about being, manual, getting it tested and all that. And they did that, and it sucks. But then someone listened. I'm not sure who greenlit it, but I absolutely love them. And they put the rear-wheel drive manual transmission in the Z4, only in the M40 model, and it's oh my god, it drives so good. We had one come into the dealership, and no one else in the dealership knows how to drive manual effectively, by the way. So because of that, they usually ask me to bring down things like the M cars and trades and things of that nature that are manual transmission. And oh my God, it shifted so wonderfully. It was beautiful, and yeah, really. So, obviously, people are watching this, so you can see what I'm highlighting up here on it. But yeah, the M235. Now, here's the question: did your wife end up um, getting the digital cockpit, or did she do that kind of half digital, which still has the analog gauges and just a little digital beast in the middle? Because back in 20, when those were coming out, a lot of people didn't actually opt for the uh, driver cockpit pro, and I've kind of found that strange. But oh, nice, epic, love it. But yeah, I still think they're probably one of the most underrated cars that BMW makes. And although I've said it in a previous video a couple years ago that I think that the number one thing with that puppy, when that thing first came out, was not its power, which power is great, fantastic torque. It gets up, it moves. It's a really good vehicle in that sense, and it doesn't kill you in fuel economy either, which I like. But my personal favorite thing about it is by far it's just the way it corners. It just completely is whoo whoo whoo. And and yeah, 100%. Although here's my thing. When because technically yes, it's the mini Clubman JCW, underneath it. They all have the same thing. They have the ARB system for that instant torque vectoring and fantastic traction that happens so much faster because of the um, move away from an Ethernet cable to instead fiber optics. So it's literally 100 times faster than any other traction system, which just makes it work beautifully and defies physics. And it's wonderful. And I love it. But yeah, overall, I still would prefer the Mini over it for one reason and one reason alone. And that's solely because the trunk is just slightly bigger. Ever so slightly. Because that it's about just shy of 15 cubic feet, but that's with the little thing flipped up. Whereas the Mini's 15 cubic feet because it's a wagon, which I hit my head on the spoiler that comes out the back all the time. I literally had a partial black eye, and I had fractured my little like top ridge on my nose there because of it. Literally hit it so many times on it. It's something that my brain just never learned and maintained in my body, which is a pain in the butt. So yeah. Anyway, where was I? By the way, thanks for the sidebar here. I love when this kind of thing happens more. Talking to people outside of just simply following a script and going down and being like, here's the new thing. Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. Anywho, so the new X3, really good. They still have a 30 with the same 255 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder, 295 pound-feet of torque. Went over that one a little bit earlier in this conversation. But the biggest thing they did on this is they had an update to the, excuse me, both models, whether it's 4-cylinder or the 6-cylinder, get the 48 volt mild hybrid in it. But the biggest one, and the one I feel like is not going to be talked about nearly enough, is the M50 version. Because the M50, so it gets this technically, and it's highlighted right here. I love that they actually put the engine code in it, because I'm like, because this is the stuff that I live and breathe. Oh, thank God you guys aren't down here. My cat's taking a poop literally right next to me. It's great. It smells wonderful. So this little guy has the newest version of the B58 in it, which technically had its technical update 2 since it's come out. And this little guy is right down here, and oh my lord. So the new M50, slight bump in horsepower, which, when you originally think of 393 horsepower, you're like, okay, it's a minor bump up. It's really not that big. But the biggest part is the bump of torque all the way up to 428 horsepower, and that torque comes on as little as 1900 RPMs and holds all the way out to 4800 RPM. So it's a nice broad torque curve, and you feel it all around. And then you pair that with a 48-volt mild hybrid in it. This thing is just beautiful. It's smooth. It's great. Number one downside, and literally everyone across the internet is saying this, except for the people that bought it, which I find a little weird, and that's the plastic. So much plastic. Yeah, so much just, oh, dude, so you have the legit pops and bangs. Love that model. Specifically for that reason. Excuse me. But yeah, honestly, I've been hearing it too. We haven't seen any at our dealership though. Like, no one. Not a single person has been like showing that something's kind of up with it. We've had no major people coming in saying that we've had any issues. But yeah, I have been hearing it. I have been hearing about some people having issues with all start stop kind of kicking in weird. 4 mile hybrid system having energy discharge, so the battery's not like discharging more than it's supposed to. And I heard of one person say they had a fuel dilution, but I don't remember if that was um, supposed to be oil diluting the fuel or if it was coolant diluting the fuel. But although they have a different jacket, uh, coolant jacket design, so I don't think they'll be having that issue with this particular one. Let's go Kevin for a quick second here. Yes, 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 yes. Any reason why I can't get it? So yes, Kevin, to cover your question here, so while they're all getting that bit, they're all getting that except for the 2 Series Grand Coupe and X1, X2. They're all getting that 14.9-inch screen across the board. The problem with it is because the 3 Series is about to go through is just basically a year and a half away from a complete redo, like completely new vehicle all around. No more LCI. They sort of did like a partial LCI when they moved from iDrive 7 to iDrive 8 and then 8 to 8.5. So it's sort of like a quasi LCI. No one's calling it that at BMW. They're saying that like this now is the LCI. But they're kind of running it longer than they have recently. They're trying to change up cars quickly, and I find that interesting. But overall, it's entertaining how much it is doing so. Um, but the reason they can't do it is because we're still under contract for those particular systems to be running. This is the same reason why the X5 hasn't gotten it, X6, X7, and 7 series. All of them also haven't gotten the update for it because we're basically running out our orders that we had of the Linux-based system, and will in the future be moving to. I believe most of these systems are actually going to skip over iDrive 9 and skip straight to iDrive 10 when they do their refresh, along with the Neue class when that comes out. That's my suspicion as to what's going to happen, but I have no idea. And I honestly don't. iDrive 9, for the most part, it lends itself more to the smaller vehicles screens, like the smaller, like just shy of 13-inch screens that they have. I mean, compare that to the one beauty of the X3, especially if you wanted iDrive 9, but you can't stand the idea of having touch and voice only, is that they actually put an iDrive controller in this. It's the same one found in the i5 and i7, but I mean, again, sitting in the car, this looks really good. Like, I love this. and it drives very nice. It feels great. The problem, and again, as I said earlier, is this bit right here. It's all plastic. And what's worse is the little tiny thing that it sits on, because it's a combination of haptic buttons and touch sensors for lock and unlock, and like you just simply like run your finger on it for vent control. Because of that, the whole thing shifts and moves when you like close the door, and I have a sneaking suspicion that over time that's slowly going to actually get loose and wiggle, which, you know, take it as you will. Nice. But yeah, so because of that, it's a good system. I personally think iDrive 9 is sort of a temporary holdover for what iDrive 10 is going to be. I do believe iDrive 10 is going to be the same um, Android Automotive open source system, which I desperately think we need. I think it's just more future proof, more easily updated, because the original promise with iDrive 8 when it came out with the iX and the i4, um, back in 22, the original promise was that this is going to future proof it, easily updatable, and all that. And then for whatever reason, they basically, a year and a half later, did iDrive 8.5 and couldn't update the iDrive 8. All these things that they basically said didn't fall through, and I was just like, why? Because that hurts. Because you expect when someone says something that they're going to maintain it, especially if they're a massive manufacturer known for, you know, good products. And I feel like every manufacturer out there right now is slowly trying to cut corners where they can without sacrificing too much of what a customers want and expect. The problem in doing it that way is that you're going to piss off somebody. That's just the way of it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't make everyone happy all the time. So you're going to piss off somebody. In this case, they went to the plastics in the doors and the center console. Again, I overall think it's a really fantastic car. By the way, this picture right here is showing a textile. It's a very eco-friendly textile dash. I think it's a horrible idea because the only thing that my brain thinks, because I have 3 kids, is crumbs and dust and everything that flies around my car. So yeah, it's again, well, completely agreed. Horrible design choice. Um, Visually stunning, looks great. Even text-wise, it doesn't even feel bad. But no one's sitting there going like, "Ooh, my gosh," you know. You're not ETing your way through your car experience, being like, "Ouch, ouch, touch. I love the feeling of a rusty spoon on my salad fingers." Uh, but yeah, again, it has the iDrive controller. Another thing, I feel like it was a missed opportunity right here, where they could have actually put not just the charger on the left, but a charger on the right, and yet they, for whatever reason, did not do it, and it's a missed opportunity. And bottom line, it's still a key one charger. It's not a key two, so it doesn't have the faster charging capabilities. There's no magnets in it that allows you to like connect your iPhone to get maximum charging. It's still going to limit you to 7.5 watts, but at least it has the cooler so your phone won't overheat. So, yeah, win some, lose some. And funny you mention that, because technically speaking, this is supposed to be the iX3. Because, I mean, legit, it's supposed to be that. That is literally what this car was meant to be. It's general design language. Like this whole look. This is the BMW iX design language. excuse me, I'm trying to show people this. This is the BMW iX design language. You know, the flattened out kind of wheel arches. You know, just kind of slightly bowled out curves. Everything's smoothed out. Simple design language. And here's the thing. I also knew this was going to happen because, and I've done this in the past year. Let me just jump out. Actually, this is using this guy is gonna be a pain in the butt. Let me switch to my mechanical keyboard to try and smooth this out a little bit here. Never mind. I lied. I need this one. Jesus. All right. All right. And actually, I'm going to open up a second one of these so that way I can actually show you these two side by side. So do that, and let's actually spell that correctly. BMW. So I'm going to do this. We're going to throw up the X3. There's a really good exterior view here. This one. I still think this is the best one to show this off here. All right, so BMW X3. Compare that to the BMW Neue Class X model, which is the baseline for the upcoming iX3 on the Neue Class. Come on, I know they basically have the exact same angle. Here. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit A, Exhibit B. They're the same damn basic design language. It's like, Jesus. Yeah, I noticed that. Although, all right, I know this is a BMW stream, and obviously this is a little more personalized in the way we do this, but can I just show something real fast? Because this is, some people may see slightly blasphemous, but has anyone seen this? The new Scout. All right, like, ha, 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 ha. I do have an order in for this. I will be owning a Scout Terra. I am obsessed with that truck. It looks so good. And it's body on frame. And I'm looking for the Harvester model, which is going to give a small gas generator for it. So it's technically gas and electric. Smaller battery overall, but they're going to get about 350 miles of range on the standard one. But that hybrid one probably dropped to about 300 miles of range. And they say 500 plus miles of expected range with the range extender, which will be ooh, ooh, ooh. Although I'd be curious to see how this legit goes up against um, not necessarily other EVs, although I would like to see us go up against the Rivian R1T and R1S, because I feel like they're basically direct competitors, minus the fact that I don't believe the Scout's Traveler is, I think it's only a 2-row SUV, not 3-row. But, you know, still, it's a really wide, these are really wide vehicles. And again, I pre-ordered this puppy because so true. So true. Oh, by the way, let's go back to your previous one. And yes, I would also agree with with that statement that the new 5 Series wears it the best. I think here's my thing that I have when in terms of the general design language. I think BMW does a great job of you just look at it and you realize that's a BMW. There's really no question. They're doing things where like the grill's longer, wider, and they've like you look at the 8 series compared to the 2 series and compare that to the iX and the i4, like they're all over the place, but the kidney grill is the kidney grill. I don't like that the X3 has gotten rid of the four eyes. I think that is really stupid in terms of design language. They still kept the two kind of daytime running lights to kind of make it look semi like that, but it's not four individual headlights, one for low beam, one for high beam on each side. And it just really cheapens the car, in my opinion. It makes it seem like it's not a BMW on that front. And again, when you think of it in terms of the way the Neue class does it, because this particular setup, has that little design cue to it, but it's all like this 3D grill thing that they're putting out there, and it makes it work better. You know, but I'm a big fan of any car company that actually does really good with their brand design, brand feel, and yeah, because you see that, that's a Scout. Although I do think they took a lot from Porsche in terms of this actual design of that headlight there, because you know it's almost like a combination of like the Porsche with the four individual little light elements on each side, and then with the way that beam comes through the middle, it's kind of Volvo or Polestar-ish, where it's like a Thor's hammer, but instead of branching off into little pieces on each side, it just goes straight through. But I am a massive fan of the way this thing is just put together. I think it looks right. It's helpful for me because I used to build tiny houses. I'm kind of getting back into it. Also, since I've been with you guys last, I have I've gotten out of my i4, and I currently drive a Ford Maverick Hybrid 2024. So it's the front wheel drive, open differential hybrid eCVT. It hurts a little to say. It hurts my soul just ever so slightly. But I did that because my youngest is now a year and 2 months, and we just swapped him over to a front-facing child seat, and the baby seat fit in the i4 with the two seats beside it, but it does not work with three normal car seats, or even two car seats and a booster seat. It just does not work in the i4. It sucked. I hated having to get rid of that. But strangely enough, it's opened me back up to the world of never owned a pickup truck until my current car. Car. I don't know if you can even call the Maverick a truck. I mean, it's a truck because it has a truck bed, but it's not body on frame, and that, in my opinion, is a truck. This is a truck because it's body on frame. And it has a spare tire. Look at that. See, I like that. But yeah. Anyway, back to BMW. And yeah, well, here's the thing. From what I think about this, Spurs mentions how they don't really make the 3 Series wide enough in the back. Same thing with the 2 Series Grand Coupe, frankly. Um, but even though they put it out as a 5-seater, it's a 5-seater and the fifth person is someone that you hate. You put in the middle. You really need to go up to the 5 Series to be able to get a big enough back seat to fit anything. Now, I technically could have gotten I was thinking about getting an i5 instead, because I can fit, 3 car seats in the back of that easily. It's 54.8 inches of rear hip room, so I can fit 3 normal sized car seats perfectly fine in the back. But I don't know, I want something that I just want to change it up because I feel like if I get too much in the solely EV way of living, then it's hurting my soul in a little bit because I do miss having an actual gas car and overall range, be able to just go anywhere, fill up, once a week instead of every 3 days. But I'm also living with the fact that now that I have a plug-in hybrid and I get about 460 miles out of every single tank, I'm still filling up a lot. It's still like $50 to fill it up on regular gas. It's not even premium gas, and it's just like, wow, that hurts. That's painful. But yeah. Another thing, completely devoid of this, because frankly, I know no one at my dealership even watches these. Um, I'm attempting at the moment to actually, I might end up eventually leaving the dealership um, as the after sales manager and BMW genius, and instead um, I'm looking to apply for IT at BMW North America, mainly because I'd love to see what I can do and kind of move around in there between dealership facing stuff um, as well as in-car entertainment stuff. So I'd love to get my hands on that and see if I can help kind of shape where it's going, especially with the open source operating system. I used to be a coder and um, graphic designer. I'm a designer for Apple apps and Apple's App Store. So I like to do this kind of stuff as a side gig, and that is sort of my side non BMW stuff that I do. I did that back when I was an actor too. But I would love to just get more into this and see, where it could potentially go. So, yeah. And yes, no more i4. My kids are too big and they don't fit in it. Kind of sucks. Spurs, you have kids as well? It's because I actually have some videos from when all my kids were little. So I have a six-year old, 3-year old, and 1-year old, all boys, which is wonderful. And 11 and 3, great. Boys, girls combo. But so wait, that actually means so your 11-year-old means that you're out of at least a booster seat. Although I do know what you mean, especially if you're like a standard sized human. I'm weird. I tend to sit really close. Yeah, boys. Oh, boys. Sorry, Brianna. Nothing against you. I love you. You're wonderful. Um, but yeah, my kids. Because I sit relatively close. I like to have my arms bent about this much, just because I like to be able to get a better torque on the wheel. I feel like if you're driving like this, you don't have as much torque in dangerous situations. Not that I like to find myself in them often, but if I do, I like to have a little more torque on the wheel, and you get that by bringing it in, and you can get better torque on it. Um, so because of that, I feel like I have a driving position that lends to a little bit more room in the back. Likewise, my wife is only 5'2", so she's a tiny little thing. I like to put her in my pocket when we go on the flights, and when she gets a kids rate. Totally kidding. Um, but yeah, I I would love for it to just have more overall legroom. Oh, sorry, boys and girls. Hey, best of both worlds. It's a beautiful thing. Not to mention with a little girl, they're always going to see you as like the best dad in the world. Daddy's home. I get home, my kids are like, fight me. But Um, I feel like the only problem with 2 series, 3 series, 4 series is that the rear knee room, if you were a normal human being with a standard driving position, makes the rear seat way too tight, especially if you have kids that like to kick, and they're basically, it's going to be like their foot size right in there, and they're not going to be able to kick, and they'll complain, they'll be uncomfortable. It's a lose-lose situation. You need to be at least a teenager with your legs, you know, decently bent, feet under the seat, and no booster, and then you're good to go. Because, yeah, squeezing a rear facing infant seat, a booster seat for my oldest, and a convertible car seat for my 3-year-old was very tight, very tight, very tight. Baby went in the middle on the little hump. Odin didn't like the hump, otherwise I would have put him in the middle without the booster, because it literally raises you up enough because of how much, of a dip are on the sides. It's basically a booster seat, and he's a he has a really tall torso, sort of like me. So because of that, even when he sat there without the booster seat, if he sat with the booster seat, his shoulder was just above where the actual seatbelt goes, and if it without the booster seat, it was like half an inch above here, so it actually fit perfectly. But because of where it goes in the 4 series, it's kind of like right here at like the upper part of your hip rather than down by like your butt. So it's just a lose-lose situation. So yeah, dirty seatback's the bane of existence. Hey, holy cow! I apologize. I did not realize that I've been going for an hour and a half doing this. Um, and it is practically 12 midnight where I'm at. So, yeah, I think I should probably cut this thing off. But either way, as always, guys, thanks so much for joining in. Uh, I'll start to do these a little bit more as we go forward here. Again, I had to take a little 4 or 5 month hiatus from doing live streams because a lot of changes at the dealership made it a little harder to do this, and yeah. But everyone, thanks so much. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys soon. If you want to, leave comments on here whenever you want, and check out other videos. If you haven't subscribed, obviously subscribe. It helps me. I'm the only YouTuber at the dealership, and the tiny bit of monetization that we get for it help me so I can get some better equipment and film stuff for the dealership. So yeah, keep going and catch those car dreams and find the car that makes you happy. With that, thanks everyone. Have a good night, safe driving, and get some sleep.